We're going to be talking about how you can operationalize AppSec with Semgrep and ArmorCode together, how the shared partnership helps you unify detection across multiple different scanners, including Semgrep, how you can unify your code to cloud stories so you can help prioritize your risk that you have in your application, and ultimately for CISOs, executives, to help identify reporting across and get better visibility across all your different business units at your organization. With that, I'll pass it to our friend Robert again.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that introduction, and let's get into it. And hopefully everything will update here. Okay, so what is the challenge that we're trying to solve? It's fundamentally from both the Semgrep and ArmorCode perspective. Why do application security programs fail to start, are challenged, or how do they move from immaturity to maturity? And that's fundamentally what we want to talk about here for just a few moments. We're going to talk about how do we address the challenge, how do we kind of partner together to solve this, and then what does this look like when everything's humming along. So I'm Robert Shannon. I'm a principal solutions architect with ArmorCode. Formerly, I used to run application security programs in the oil and gas space and done really a whole bunch of stuff across a bunch of the security landscape. And so I have an experience here because I had to essentially build one of these programs from scratch, much like we're talking about. One of the things that we find is that most organizations are not necessarily needing yet another scanner. They have really great investments in tools like Semgrep and many other tools around the domain. What they're challenged by is, at least from the ArmorCode perspective, what to do when you have lots of different findings from lots of different tools. And so ArmorCode attempts to try and solve that with our partners so that when you have these really great high-fidelity detections coming from tools like Semgrep, what you then do around prioritization, correlation, and unification across the entire stack and suite of findings that you have. And so this is where we're going to be spending our time talking about as a part of this. About Semgrep for just a moment, this is not my pitch, this is really theirs, but as a partner, the thing that we love about them is that everyone trusts them. And most people are building on top of their stack. That's what I appreciate about them. Whenever you come to Semgrep, even if you're not talking to them, you're talking about them in some way. And so they provide incredible ability for detection, both across secrets and code and several other components of the stack across multiple languages. And really the thing that they're pushing now is the ability to auto-fix. And I think that's really what people are looking for is velocity. And how do I get time to remediation now? From the ArmorCode perspective, one of the things that we're doing is trying to integrate across all of those tools. We have integrations across 350 tools in this space. We are not a scanner. That's the distinction. Oftentimes people are saying, do you offer scanning? We do not. We do that with partners because they do what they are best at, and we are trying to do what we're best at, which is take all of that high fidelity signal and say, what is the grand story that all of these signals are trying to expose to us? So just a little bit about ASPM. This is a term that's evolved over the last several years. We are starting to see more and more people talking about exposure management. They care about supply chain. They care about application security. They care about lots of different dimensions across this space. ArmorCode is attempting to address each of them as they emerge, including now, as we've all talked about and seen, what is the exposure that comes from all the AI tools? So as we disaggregate the AI landscape and start thinking about how do we still secure each of those components, what is ArmorCode's role in helping to bring that technology change all the way back to what we've done for a long time, which is securing the very code that many of these tools are still writing for us. So that's where ArmorCode sits in the landscape. Our goal here is to be that governance layer. And so because we're not a scanner, we're there to help manage what happens after those scans occur. So we're going to talk a little bit about the correlation, triage, remediation, and then fundamentally, how are we using AI to also accelerate that as well? All right, so here is the challenge. We have a shared responsibility model across detection, prioritization, fixes, and then ultimately the security program as a whole. And each one of your tools plays a major part in that. Partners like Semgrep play a major part in that early detection. Again, because we're not a scanner, we're not going to do that for you. But our goal is to say, once you've got something coming from a tool like Semgrep and then another tool, we'll show some examples here of your container scans, things that are happening in your threat modeling, things that are happening in API security. How do we bring these together for a comprehensive picture of risk in your landscape of applications, products, systems, all of the different things that you may be managing as a part of your program? So, detection. From a Semgrep perspective, these are the things that they're trying to focus on. Code, SCA, secrets. I don't know how many of you have been keeping up. There's been huge supply chain challenges over the last several weeks, even the last several days. Light LLM is the one I've been paying attention to. There are many others that are occurring right now. This is a major challenge for many organizations as not only AI defenses, but AI attacks make so much of this more challenging for us. And so these are the things that we're trying to pay attention to, because the explosion of findings, I think, is happening right now. We're going to see that probably over the next year and a half or so. From there, the challenge that we hear from our customers is, I have all of these findings, what do I start with first? Many of our customers are not just bringing thousands of findings or tens of thousands, they're bringing millions of findings at the largest enterprises. And so when you have that many findings, you can't throw more bodies at that problem. You have to have a different strategy, move from severity-based management to risk-based management. And that involves adding context, threat intelligence, and all of the things that help us to understand the details of a particular finding. One of the things that we're starting to think about too is, what does this look like when we're prioritizing them? You will see, for example, we've got a finding that comes from your container security scanning tool and from a tool, in this case, Semgrep. When you've got a correlated finding like this, who owns the fix and where should it go to? And our goal is to take common findings across tools and to say, where is this seen first? And in this case, Semgrep is really the person that says, I'm the owner of the original finding. The container team found it later downstream. They have the details that help us to understand who are the developers that introduced that, where was it originally coming from, and we can bring all of this together so that for remediation teams, they're not getting 2 or 3 or more findings for the same issue, they're getting one. And that's really fundamentally the big difference between whether your developers trust you to solve a problem as a security team partner, or whether they treat you as someone that just gives them more noise. And that's really what we want to help you achieve as an outcome, is, are you a good partner in reducing their problems in this space? So from that, where do we start to use AI ourselves? Well, the obvious place for us is in 2 spots. Number one, we want to do that initial triage for you. Many times we have partners that we love dearly that sometimes their detection details are not nearly as strong as we like. Semgrep does a great job on this, but not every tool in your stack does that. And so what we do is say, let us use our capability of wrapping all of the context of a finding into an initial triage of that issue. And then second, let us propose an initial broad fix that goes into the areas that are not necessarily touched by partners like Semgrep code. It could be configuration changes, it could be deployment changes, and things that extend across all of the other scanning tech that you have in your space. So that's where we're helping on the fix. Lastly, it comes down to the reporting side. When we talk to executives in the space, when we talk to leaders, when we talk to team leads, when we talk to the engineers themselves, they all want to generally understand the same problem. What do I have to do today? What is going to reduce the risk? And how do I know where I'm trending one way or the other? And that's what we're trying to help you solve, is in one spot, across all the different scanning findings that I have, what does the comprehensive picture of risk look like? The challenge for most teams is they're constantly switching consoles between the different tools. We want to be that central town hall for all of those findings. And so with one place, as much as we can be that largest pane of glass that you have to give that picture of risk in your account. A couple other just kind of final notes here. We are trying to be that comprehensive view. So whether it's code, supply chain, whether it's anything having to do with infrastructure. If you have a finding somewhere, we want to be the home for your findings. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, whether it's coming from what the good friends at Semgrep are doing, which is trying to reduce that mean time remediation with code fixes, and where, from our perspective, is trying to reduce that noise across tools, we want to have significant impact on your business. We want to, at the end of the day, say, you made a good investment, and if you've got to make decisions about what you prioritize, these are the things you keep, and you decide what else is not working is the thing that you go, I don't need that anymore, I need to change that or do something different, and that's nice. So who is our ideal partner with us in this work? Most of the time, it's coming from people that have some kind of maturity in AppSec. They have AppSec teams, they have product security teams, they have framework management teams, they have all of these different groups, and they oftentimes are siloed. They oftentimes have lots of tools. Many of our biggest customers bring not just 1 or 2 or 3 tools, they bring dozens and dozens of tools. They oftentimes, especially if they're going through mergers and acquisitions, if they're going through divestitures, if they're going through any kind of partnership with umbrella boards, you will have huge silos of work, and yet at the very top and in between, you're going to have teams that say, what is my risk today? That's where we sit. Those are the problems we're solving. There are really good partners in the space for people that don't have those needs, but that's what we're serving. All right. With that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm available if you have any specific questions about ArmorCode. The Semgrep team is obviously available if you have questions about what they do. But I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much for listening.
So much.